At least 23 protesters were killed and hundreds wounded during nationwide protests against tax rises in Kenya on 25th of June. The largely peaceful protests, ongoing for days, escalated on Tuesday after MPs passed an amended, deeply unpopular finance bill. A section of the parliament building in capital Nairobi was set ablaze by angry protesters who had broken through police lines to storm the parliament. On the same evening, a defiant Kenyan President William Ruto labeled the protesters organized criminals and accused them of participating in a treasonous event. A day after, in a dramatic reversal, Ruto declared that the bill containing contentious tax hikes would be withdrawn. But protests have continued, with protesters now clamoring for President Ruto's resignation. Our next report brings you more details.
The East African nation of Kenya was rocked by nationwide protests beginning last week, a result of widespread discontent and anger over proposed tax hikes. These protests have largely been organized by young people through social media. Initially perceived to be understanding, President William Ruto's government was caught off guard by the intensity of these protests. Tensions escalated on Tuesday when Kenyan police, clad in full riot gear, blocked access to the parliament, where lawmakers were debating the controversial finance bill. They fired tear gas, water cannon and rubber bullets in a bid to disperse hundreds of mainly young protesters.
There is no criminality in assembling in the streets. I was there in the morning. I have seen the unprofessional police force. We don't have a police service. They should scrap off that nonsense and call them a police force. They are here brutalizing innocent citizens who are unarmed, who are only speaking because the president has successfully captured parliament. He has successfully captured the judiciary. The only surviving sovereign power is the people. Now he's trying to brutalize us.
The defiant crowd broke through the police lines to storm the parliament, vandalizing the interior and setting sections of the parliament on fire. The ceremonial mace, symbolizing the authority of the legislature, was stolen in the mayhem. Reportedly, an overreacting police had resorted to live ammunition even before the parliament was breached.
I'm here to address you. You must go. Ruto must go.
The pandemonium was described as akin to war. In a national address the same evening, President Ruto, condemning the events as treasonous and an unprecedented attack on democracy, vowed to quash unrest at whatever cost.
Today, Kenya experienced an unprecedented attack on its democracy, rule of law, and the integrity of its constitutional institutions. An otherwise legitimate expression of the fundamental rights and freedoms of assembly, demonstration, picketing, and petitioning of public authorities by a section of law-abiding citizens of the Republic of Kenya was infiltrated and hijacked by a group of organized criminals.
The next day, the Kenya Human Rights Commission condemned Ruto's decision to crack down on the protests, expressing outrage at the killing of protesters by police forces and questioning Ruto's decision to deploy armed forces.
It's not protesters who are treasonous. It's Ruto's acts that are treasonous. These killings were further exacerbated by the deployment of the Kenya Defence Forces, KDF. The deployment, per the Special Gazette notice the Defence Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale issued, is illegal. Article 241 2C of Kenya's Constitution says that National Assembly must first approve such deployment, and this has not happened. There is nothing that justifies the use of live bullets on protesters. But this regime positions snipers to shoot and kill unarmed protesters.
On Wednesday, in a major climb down from the hardline rhetoric, following an extraordinary demonstration of people power, President Ruto said he would withdraw the finance bill containing the controversial tax hikes. The announcement came in his second address to the nation within 24 hours.
Consequently, having reflected on the continuing conversation around the content of the Finance Bill 2024, and listening keenly to the people of Kenya who have said loudly that they want nothing to do with this Finance Bill 2024, I concede, and therefore I will not sign the 2024 Finance Bill, and it shall subsequently be withdrawn, and I have agreed with these members that that becomes our collective position.
The proposed legislation was part of efforts to cut the country's massive debt burden of more than $80 billion, which cost the country more than half of its annual tax revenues to service. The proposed legislation would have benefited farmers, students and teachers in a country where a third of its 52 million people still languish in poverty. But in a democracy, the people's voice is paramount, and the Kenyans have spoken in a loud and clear voice.